You know, that's the problem with these wrist-worn transporters. They just get set off by the smallest knock. That was not a good idea. Okay, oh, well. On the list of smart ideas, that was not. She's excited, but quickly finds herself trying to explain herself when Yindao They make it to the second church and are greeted very happily by... They make it to the second church and are greeted very happily by that church's priest. No. They make it to the second church and are greeted very happily by that church's priest, Danlor. They tell Danlor that their concerns about the... They tell Danlor their concerns... No. They make it to the second church and are greeted very happily by that church's priest, Danlor. They tell Danlor that their concerns about the king and Danlor... Emphasis on king. Lewis wakes up, tied together with Lithmanar and Indau, and overhears the Dark Knights and Sorcerers talk about their plan, which is to bring Lewis to their leader and kill Indau and Lithmanar. That worries Lewis, so he plans to use an escape pod and a box of hamdingers to send them home. Lewis wakes up tied together with Lithmanar and Indau Lewis wakes up together with Lithmanar and Indau and overhears the Dark Knights and Sorcerers talking about their plan, which is to bring Lewis to their leader and kill Indau and Lithmanar. That worries Lewis, so he plans to use an escape pod and a why can't I say it? Actually, he waits until they get close and then begins to attack them while tied up. The knights start to attack, but are soon attacked by an unknown assailant, and Lewis manages to break free with his gauntlets, once again granting him new armor, giving him golden boots that he uses to kick the crap out of the remaining knights. Lithmanar and Indau wake up and take on the last Dark Sorcerer and the one... Her mind's physical manifestation is a quarter... What? I mean, that's... What? I mean, it worked, but still. No joke, when I first read that, had to put the book down and go, like, rethink my life for a minute. No, I don't like that. Get rid of that last part, just too late. Grr. Lewis has fun fighting while the spell is in effect, and Indau commands the army in attacking with archers and catapults. Lithmanar and Raven go investigating and find a hidden cave that the Dark Knights have been using to get into Ai, with the help of the slaves whose families were taken. Lithmanar and Raven go investigating and find a hidden cave that the Dark Knights have been using to get into Ai, with the help of slaves whose families were being taken hostage, which means that there isn't a spy like the general had feared. The Dark Knights start to The Dark Knights start to storm the base, but all the slaves and servants are standing in their way, armed with crossbows, swords, piked. Not that one. The champion tells Lewis a bit about Jalad, which was essentially nearly taken over by the Darkness centuries ago, and doesn't have a very powerful army. The capital was destroyed and the royal family executed, so the remaining city-states became... Lewis and crew find Indau's clothes that had been abandoned and keep searching, while Mira tortures Indau to admit the one thing that she can never admit, her secret. The one that she can never admit. Lewis grabs Indau and starts to run, but Indau stabs him, because she wants his love, which the Darkness promised that she gave Lewis to him, and the Darkness... Lewis grabs Indau and starts to run, but Indau stabs him because she wants his love, which the Darkness promised if she gave Lewis to him. Lewis grabs Indau and starts to run, but Lewis grabs in... Lewis's mindscape is much more interesting than a horror. Then the Darkness brings them to the cabin where it all began, and asks Lewis to join them, and Lewis nearly does, before shoving a chainsaw in the Darkness's arm and putting a boomstick in its face. Oh, Rain was in a cabin. That could be misconstrued.